in my eyes, 3 inches is a lot.
But reality is starting to set in that he could be a Raider.
I don't give a damn if Jeanty wins Rookie of the Year. If the Raiders don't make the playoffs,
maybe Pete isn't going to make the Raiders great again. He's making them functional again. The reality is setting into me that he might be a Bronco.
Looking at the Charger schedule, tough. They're traveling the most. If I had a guess right now, 3-14, 3-14 for the Chargers.
Reality is setting into me that he might be a Chief.
Yes.
We are diving deep on all things AFC West. A snapshot, unbiased look from some very unbiased AFC West fans by Joe Morley, Raider fan, Tony Tucker, fellow Chargers fan, to talk about all things AFC West news. We're going to give some free agents for each of our teams and the other AFC West teams to target. We're going to talk about the head coach rivalry that has formed in the AFC West and what the records are between all the coaches. And then we're going to give our record predictions as of today for this division. We can adjust this later on in the offseason. All right. Tony Tucker, Joe Morley, very excited to have you guys on. Tony, I'll let you go first because you know what team to root for. How are you doing today? Bolting up? Ready to go against this nonsense I'm sure is about to come?
Yes, I fully expect, based on the video that Joe had come out earlier where he was asking Raiders fans about the record prediction, for Joe to be in that same sort of cloud nine behavior or whatever. But I feel great. It's always fun to see the players getting back for OTAs and just out there working. Not that it means anything, like for the season, but it means that we're that much closer to football returning, right? And watching the preseason and watching the position battles and all that stuff. So I'm excited. It's summer's very, very close.
Oh man, it's exciting. I think we're under 100 days now until the first boot will go to a ball and into someone's hands. Joe, welcome back to the channel. It's always fun having Joe Morley Sports and good old Mike from the Friday Night Wars to today talking Raiders Chargers. But how are you today, Joe?
I'm good, but I'm not even supposed to be on this podcast. Like all the Raider fans say that I do a podcast with Charger fans, and now I'm an undercover Charger fan, and I don't know. You guys are ruining my life right now.
Well, welcome to the club of Raiders fans ruining people's lives. It's a lot of fun. That's why I bring you on my channel. We're not allowed to joke about the Raiders. Yeah, that's why I'm not even allowed to talk about them. Exactly. I'm not even allowed to talk about them. Even though I'm NFLMike, there's one team in the NFL that I'm not allowed to talk to, according to the fans of that team. But yeah, Joe, the only reason I bring you on the channel so much is just to see Raiders fans turn on you.
Hey, it's there. It's there. Like I don't even care no more. Like I just laugh because I've got my Raider card pulled like 100 times already since the draft, so it's cool.
Yeah,
I just have them printed out, right? I just go to Home Depot or whatever. What's it called? Home Office Depot and have them print more. I got more.
That is one thing I do love about the Chargers fan base, Tony, is there is some Twitter going back and forth and stuff, but I never felt those kind of vibes from anybody where they've been like, "Hey, Mike, get the hell out the fan base. We don't accept you here anymore."
You can't lose enough. You guys don't have enough to lose. You got to hold on to what you got.
Gotta stop. This story is getting old at this point. All right, I've provided a video proof of hundreds and thousands of Chargers fans. Okay, hundreds and thousands, not hundreds of thousands. I just want to be clear.
The point is that like they're so divisive as Raiders fans,
That's
right?
true.
They can't agree on the hate. They can't agree on what they enjoy about their team. And so then they're all just shouting at each other the same ridiculous things from a different angle. When it's like everybody at this point should be able to have an opinion and mostly be optimistic when we're approaching June 1st. But that's never the case with Raiders fans.
Yeah, it's either you're on one side or the other side, it feels like, if you root for that team. Either you're doom and gloom or you're just way too far optimistic. You need to take a step back. But I guess we're the same way. We're the same way, in a sense.
They're Chargers 17-0 in my mind right now.
That's what my record prediction at the end of the show is going to be, actually. 17-0 for the Chargers. Spoilers! You should still watch till the end anyways. But first, let's get into some rapid fire news and some topics. I want to start here. Me and Tony got on the air, I think, right when the schedules dropped, and we talked extensively about the Chargers schedule. We talked about all the other schedules in the NFL, but I haven't gotten to talk to Joe yet about the Raiders schedule, especially for week 1. How do you feel about drawing Mike Vrabel week 1, Joe?
Bring it. What's
Game
Mike Vrabel? What? Acting like that. Last time I checked, he got fired as a head coach before too. It's not like I'm scared of Mike Vrabel. No, ain't nobody scared of Mike Vrabel. Ain't nobody scared of Drake May. Hey, look at the wide receiver for it. Their number 1 wide receivers out there partying and everything. It's gonna be an easy cakewalk for the Raiders week 1. Finally, the Raiders get a good week 1 opponent that they can get that win, get ready for a division game in week 2.
It is in New England, and Diggs was at OTA still, Joe. He had to make sure that was known on Twitter. Like, I still made it to practice even though I was partying on the boat. You guys realize that? Is that not impressive?
Not impressive to me.
I just thought that was funny. That was Diggs' defense. Like, he posted highlights from OTAs. Like, I still was there. I don't see what everyone's complaining about.
So, I think it's all impressive, right? Like, that you can go and party and do whatever you want and still be a top flight player in the NFL. The thing that, like, I don't think got discussed enough was the fact that he's probably going to miss at least whatever the pup list is, the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever that rule is. It's probably not going to be out there for the beginning of the season anyways. Like,
so he's not really in full go mode yet anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why can't he have fun with his free time?
Right? He's dating Cardi B. If you're dating Cardi B, shouldn't you be on a yacht partying to start your summer?
I don't know. I didn't see the
He's in love with the stripper.
Exactly. But overall, Joe, you're pumped about this Raiders schedule. You like the schedule.
No, a lot of Raider fans no, this is where I disagree with a lot of Raider fans, and some of them are finally starting to come around with it. Because when I first saw the schedule, I was like, okay, the teams that line up are good. Like the beginning first 6 or 7 games are pretty good schedule for the Raiders to come back and compete with. I mean, it's a last place schedule, so you're going to have some teams on there that's not that good. But when you look at the way that they scheduled it, the Raiders got screwed over. Like it's not mileages, but you're going West Coast or East Coast, back to the West Coast, back to the East Coast, and we already know. You guys see it with the Chargers all the time too. West Coast teams traveling to East Coast playing at 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't like it. I hate it. I don't like it. And the Raiders have to do that early in the season. And even though they're winnable games, the schedule and the Raiders, I forget what it is. There's something about the Raiders have the worst rest time in the NFL, like a negative 14 or 15 days or something like that on everybody else. So they're not getting the rest. Like, I think they play the Chargers Monday night week 2, right? Turn around and have to go to the East Coast right there on Sunday, which is just it's just tough. It's brutal. The travel schedules is going to be the bad one.
It's actually kind of crazy about that week 2 game. A story came out on Rich Eisen's show, I believe. What's the guy's name? Mike North or Mike South, Mike West, one of those directions. He told the story of how they had a little bit of a scheduling conflict with that game, Joe. I don't know if you saw the clip yet, but he was basically saying that the NFL had already scheduled the Chargers Chiefs in Brazil. So that was already locked in. Now, usually you'd play a home game following. So the Chiefs be in KC, the Chargers would be at home in LA after an international game. But SoFi was booked up that weekend completely by Chris Brown. And then they were thinking, okay, well, then we'll just have the Raiders and Chargers play on that Sunday. But the Sunday Allegiant Stadium is booked up also. And so they were like, maybe the Chargers are going to have to travel to the East Coast after an international game unless the Raiders move their home opener to Monday Night Football versus the Chargers, which I don't know. I wouldn't give my division opponent an easy pass. I mean, that's the same flight from Brazil to LA as it is. We're not talking about any difference now from going home, basically.
Yeah, but Monday night home opener, Las Vegas, like you can't, you got to do that.
Las Vegas is really rowdy and full of people on Mondays.
No, but you're going to make the money. You're going to get the destination. You're going to do all that. It's better for the NFL publicity wise. They're gonna do it. Like,
yeah,
why not?
If I was Raiders, I would have said, yeah, sure, we'll do it on Thursday. We'll play on Thursday.
Ticket price is going to be outrageous, but that goes to that goes to talking about how I talked about the Raiders schedule. Like the Chargers play on Thursday night, even though they're coming back from Brazil, they're going to have the extra 3 or 4 days to get ready for it, for a Monday night game. So it works out well. They're going to, that's a, putting it on Monday night was a good advantage for the Chargers more than the Raiders.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I'm saying. The Raiders could easily just said, you know what, screw that. We still want the Chargers scheduled in our original spot that we were supposed to play them at home later in the season. We're not moving anything. And you guys would have had the Bears as your home opener or the Titans or one of those teams. And then the Chargers, we don't have the 49ers on our schedule. We don't have the Rams on our schedule. The closest is like Dallas, or maybe somehow they work the Cardinals game up or something like that.
See, but I'm
Miami or Jacksonville might have been the Chargers' week 2 opponent on Sunday after Brazil.
I call bullshit on that story though a little bit, because you're going to tell me that one game affected the whole season. Like don't they make like 10 schedules and then each go through each one of them?
Yeah, he could be just doing it for the show, Mike, West or North or East or South.
Mike directional. There's it's got to be extremely complicated to make all this stuff work out, because there is events and things happening in a lot of these stadiums throughout the year. So it doesn't really matter how it got there. It just matters that like the Raiders seem to take the short end of the stick on a lot of the scheduling conflicts for this one. Like they really, if you go through their schedule, it's like, well, they got some weeks where you could see them putting together some wins, but then you look at the rest component to it, the flight, the travel concerns, and it's like, oh, this is going to be really tough for a team that is building in Pete Carroll's image for this.
On top of all the advantages for the Chargers that it builds, Joe, we have 3 straight AFC West opponents to open the year now. So I guess the Chargers could start really strong or start really weak. Either way,
if you jump
from
out
my
3-0,
outlook, the Chargers have an opportunity to be 3-0 against the division to start the year. And as a player, as a coach, as a team, you got to be excited and hungry for that.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to feel amazing about where you stand in the division and playoff chances and all of those things. But again, starting off at the beginning of the year, it's like you really have to hit the ground running. You need to come out of training camp fully healthy and be able to have an identity. If this would have been year 1 of Harbaugh, I would have felt a lot differently than I do in year 2, where there's going to be more of a plan. There's going to be more continuity, hopefully. And these games are always going to be a fight, and they're always going to be crazy. It's not like, 3-0. You got to find a way to be at least 2-1 by the end of this. And hopefully that at least that the one of those 2 wins is against the Chiefs. You got to beat the Chiefs in week 1, no matter what happens in those other 2 games. One of those wins has to be against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think especially
if you're 3-0, you're feeling top of the world. You're like, yeah, we're going all the way. If you're 0-3, you're like, the season's done.
Yeah.
If you're, I would say 2-1, you're still feeling good, and 1-2, you're like,
well, if the losses to the Raiders, then we're still probably feeling like the season's over. But
well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, your season could start off on a high and continue on that high, or it could just drop you right away. Like that's a tough thing. Like, I hate divisional games week 1. I don't think they should put any divisional games week 1, and divisional games week 1 and divisional games on Thursday night. I think they should be nowhere in the NFL schedule. That's just me personally.
It's crazy because if any team has advantages week 1, it's the Chiefs, man, that are just basically keep running out the same thing that's unstoppable over and over and over again at the AFC. That's why I hope that Brazil game we can pull off, Tony, also, because then we got the KC game later in the year. It's not like we pulled their home game out for that Brazil game. They're replacing the LA game with the Brazil game. So we got to get this first game as if it's a home game. This is our LA versus Chiefs game.
Yeah, so also too, for like the 3rd time in 5 years, we play the Chiefs in Arrowhead on short rest. Like it's kind of becoming a scheduling tradition for them to get the extra rest advantage with the travel. So long way to go before any of this stuff kicks off, but you do think about the importance of what it is to start off not only the season strong, but then the division strong. So it's like a double whammy in that situation. I don't think that 0-3 is the same killer that it was years before. Like we've seen teams like the Bengals and whatever like climb out of some of these early season woes, but the 3 division games kind of make it to where you're probably not winning the division unless you run the table.
Yeah, you have to
So
go for the
you've
wild
got it.
card now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you already.
Yeah, SoFi Stadium, week 2, Chris Brown going to be laying those hits harder than the Chargers anyways.
Yeah, because the Chargers aren't a hard hitting team, not at all.
Joe's not.
What we do.
Joe doesn't even
Actually, Joe, I have one more question.
Jokes right now.
I have one more question before we start talking about Jeanty's controversial running back stance or not. One more question for you. Who do you got week 1, Chargers or Chiefs? Obviously, we're both going to take the Chargers. So,
I don't know. It's a tough one. I want to see how Hampton does in camp, and then I think if your running game's looking good, I think that the Chargers might be able to pull that one off.
We definitely improved our running game. That's for damn sure. But speaking of running games, the Raiders improved their running game this offseason in the NFL draft, drafting Ashton Jeanty at number 6 overall. And what made him so great in college was the fact that he looked like a miniature, like Frankenstein guy standing in the back, right? That stance is what made him so successful in college. And now Chip Kelly immediately wants to change it, Joe. If he stands with his knees bent, he's not going to be as good.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw it, but I did just post a video about this where I took Chip Kelly's press conference yesterday where he's talking about the stance, and he said he just barely moved him 3 inches, so it's not that big of a deal. But in my eyes, 3 inches is a lot. Like, I think that could be somebody's world, Tony. Like 3 inches is monumental in some places. You know what I mean? Like, but basically what he's saying is he's moving them just to for leverage wise, but it's not. I don't know. I'm trying to look at it, but if it's not broke, why try to fix it? Like if that's the way he feels comfortable doing it, and that's the way he's been doing it. Now does it give Raider fans an excuse if Jeanty has a bad season or it doesn't start off well? You know it's coming. Well, why'd they change his stance? They should have just let him do it. Like, it's the NFL. Like, I saw even like Raider favorite or whatever, everybody bows down to him, John Gruden, right? Even John Gruden said the first thing he would have done with Jeanty was change his stance too. So there's a lot of people out there that say that they would have changed it. Like, I don't know. What did they see on tape? What advantage does it make? He's 5'8". He can't get much lower, right? How much lower do you want him to get? He's already down there. He's already going to go against 6'4" guys coming at him.
So here's the exact quote, Tony, really quick. This is what Chip said. He said, "I haven't told anybody on this team to be in any stances because I don't coach positions, but it's a bent knee game. If you look at the before the ball snapped in baseball or the pitcher throwing the baseball, everyone's got their knees bent. In any athletic sport you're playing, you got bend to your knees." That's a short quote, but basically is trying to say, I didn't tell him to change his stance. I just told him don't stand so straight up in his stance.
Yeah, he's contradicting himself there a little bit, right? I didn't tell him to change his stance. I just told him not to stand like how he's standing.
Just suggested that Randy Johnson bended his knees, so maybe.
Yeah, the tallest pitcher ever.
Do exactly what you're doing, but different. Like, do that, but not that.
To me, I would think the advantage in bending your knees actually back there is running backs of his size and height. They can use the linemen to block tacklers and linebackers' vision and juke them out from behind the linemen. So I would want to be like that, so that way they can't see your first movement either direction if you're short enough back when those linemen pop up.
So everything about what you do in football, I think more so than a lot of sports, is like taking out any wasted movement. When you look at like what route runners are doing or defensive linemen are using on the pass rush, it's like that wasted movement. So if you're straight up, even that fraction of a second that it takes for you to get down to here, instead of just exploding towards where the play is designed to go or whatever it is, even that little extra bit, maybe that's what they're trying to get out, is to like have that. My thing is, it doesn't matter if he didn't do it, all of a sudden Raiders fans would be like, this is why we're bad. We didn't coach him to be down in a crouch like every other running back. Now that he's going to try and change the stance if he's bad, it's like, why are they changing his stance? There's going to be complaints no matter what. If a player is not successful and they're drafted this high and paid this highly at that position, there's going to be issues because the expectation level for Jeanty is like, this guy is taking us to the playoffs. This guy's taking us to a Super Bowl someday. He's every comparison for Jeanty is like the loftiest one ever. And everybody goes, man, I hate to make comparisons. I don't want to do this, but he reminds me of fill in the blank Hall of Famer. Like nobody ever just comes out and says like, hey, he could be really good. Maybe he's Clinton Portis, who's a really good running back. Like it's not just an average comparison. It's like LT, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith. It's like, holy shit, guys. Like, give the kid a chance to get into the NFL and succeed. And I really like Jeanty. It sucks that he ended up on the Raiders. Like, I would have loved to cheer for him on like 27 other teams.
Yeah, he's a generational talent, Tony.
He very well could be.
You say that sarcastically, like you don't want him to be a generational talent. He is going to be probably a generational talent. The thing is like, we've seen generational talents just be the only generational talent on their freaking team. So we see that happen so many times throughout league history. And Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty aren't going to carry the Raiders to the playoffs by themselves. Another thing with the whole stance thing that it could be, from what little experience I have in football, is there could be something that he's doing when he comes down from standing straight up to taking the ball that's telling which way he's going. It might be so minute, might be so small, but I see a lot of left tackles, they'll tip, run, or pass based off their stance. They get called out on it by coaches. So maybe there's something in there. That first movement he's doing when he goes left is the same every time. That first movement he's doing when he's running outside and he's trying to get to the edge is the same each time. Once you're in that regular stance, it's the same every time over and over again. You can't tell the difference. That could be something too. They work a lot with that on receivers off the line too. A lot of receivers, if they don't mix it up enough, you could start to just guess which way they're going to go based off their first step.
Tendencies. That's what it is. It's a game of like
really
whatever. You're always, when you watch film, they're looking for the smallest thing that will lead to what they can gain an advantage in. And if they feel
overall, like Joe, overall, you don't really care at all, Joe, do you? Like he could stand straight up, he could stand on with a bent knee. You don't really give a. I could tell.
No, at the end of the day, you better just score touchdowns, run the ball, and win some games. That's the main thing. Like I don't give a damn. You can stand straight up, you can sit down and get up, whatever you got to do. Win the fucking game. That's it. Just win the game.
Yeah, if you don't care, I definitely don't care about his damn stance. So let's move on to one more thing, because with these comparisons that you're talking about, Tony, have to come some crazy predictions, right? And that's what I keep asking Raiders fans to do, to go ahead and give me what they think is going to happen statistically with Ashton Jeanty. Like, how does this work out? We talked about it last time we were on the air. Like, does he need to be as good as Zeke? Is that the measuring stick? Like, where do we need to go here? So I want us all just to give a quick and brief stat prediction for Ashton Jeanty this year, and whoever's closest at the end will win an Ashton Jeanty t-shirt jersey. If me and Tony win, we will be burning it or using it as toilet paper. If Joe wins, he can give it to Jake. So there you go. I'm putting it on the line right now. Ashton Jeanty t-shirt jersey, not a jersey, to the closest stat prediction. I'll go first. I'm just looking at recent rookie running backs, right? Last year, I think Bucky Irving had the biggest year. Who had the biggest year of the rookie running backs last year? Was it Bucky, right?
I think so.
Okay. So even Bucky, which I have his stat line right here, went for 207, 1,122 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Now, he split with Shaw White, and he didn't really take over the lead back role until later on in the season. So even if you go back a year before that, Bijan didn't break 1,000 yards rushing his rookie year. Gibbs didn't break 1,000 yards rushing his rookie year. So I think that this prediction is very nice, Raiders fans, and this is an unbiased pick. I'm actually predicting him to have a great rookie year and finish probably top 10 in both these stats with 215 carries, 1,150 yards rushing, and 9 touchdowns. That would be almost rookie of the year right there, Joe.
Well, Jeanty, I don't know if you know this, but Jeanty already told you what stats he's going to have.
Yeah, that's also why I wanted to bring this up, because his stat prediction was like 2,500 yards, and
No, he said 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns.
that's
is what he
reasonable at
said.
least. That's
But
realistic.
if you look, the most rushing yards by a rookie running back is Eric Dickerson, was 1,800. And I don't know how many games he played in. That only had to be 14 games probably.
That's just
I think
nuts.
the best rookie running back that we've seen in our time is probably Zeke, right? And then after that, like, I mean, to get 1,500 yards in the NFL, that you got to be running that damn ball. You got to be going. That's a lot. Yeah, like, when I heard him say that, I was like, the confidence level, that's great. I love the confidence. I go, but that's a lot to put on a rookie. But it's not like he's not used to it. I mean, the guy's getting 300 carries in college, so I mean, they should be feeding the ball, right?
But you see, Joe, you're being really reasonable for once in your life here. Like, all the Raiders fans I talk to are offended by me saying he's going to have 1,000 yards rushing or around there.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I'm not. I mean, are we saying that 1,000 yards is not good anymore? Like,
No, I'm saying that's a solid rookie year, but not top 6 overall, I wouldn't say. But I think that Hampton and Jeanty are going to have similar numbers by the end of their rookie seasons.
well, that's because the value of the running back at number 6. That's where you start going.
Also, but that shouldn't, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Jeanty should probably outproduce Hampton when you keep in mind the Chargers have a split backfield or even a triple backfield possibly. So, like, it shouldn't even be close by the end of the year, but it is going to be close because it doesn't make sense to draft a running back top 6. It doesn't.
Don't say that because Raider fans will come
Now,
at
if
me again.
he has the 1,500 yards and he's just immediately that level of player, like, and just comes out the gate like that, then I'll be in. Tony, go ahead and give us your prediction. You're probably the most reasonable or unbiased.
It is going to be unbiased, and I don't know, probably Chargers fans wouldn't like me to say this, but I think that the number's probably around 1,250. I think the efficiency is lower for year one. I think the carries, the touches are probably a little bit higher than what you had them. So
yeah, 215.
Yeah, if I would have them probably up somewhere between 260 and 275 in the carry department, because he is going to want to run the football a lot. He is going to be the lead. I don't think there's really any competition on the roster, especially with where you picked him. So I would say probably about 265 carries, 1,250 yards, and I would go higher in the touchdown department, and I would go double-digit touchdowns with somewhere around 11 if I was going to put together a stat line for Rookie of the Year, and somebody that I think all-purpose-wise can go over like 1,600 yards in year one, just based on the volume and usage within the offense, right? Like, that's going to be a Rookie of the Year type season for Jeanty to have, because if you look around at, like, what do they really want to do and what are they going to be capable of doing, and it's like there's a lot of unknowns. He's the one where it's like, yeah, there's some unknown because he never played in the NFL, but like if you drafted him at this spot, then you're using him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have the Raiders are gonna have to feed him. They have to feed him, and like Tony said, like you have Mozart, you have and some other running backs on the team that didn't pan out last year as well. So I mean, like, and you took him at number 6. You gotta he's your cowbell, right? You got to keep going. And Pete Carroll probably learned to hand the ball off in the red zone, right? Like they know that Geno Smith leads the NFL in red zone interception, so why not lean on your running back right there when you get down there. So I think the touchdowns will be up there, especially like towards the end of the game. You can get some, a cheap touchdown here and there. So I would say that Jeanty's correct on. I would say he has over 10 touchdowns this year, rushing at least. And I think Tony's correct that they're going to try to find him out of the backfield a lot. That's what they're looking for. They're going to make him that weapon. They're going to try to find him in the passing game as well. But rushing yards, I don't know. I don't want to go too high and I don't want to go too low. But I'll go right in the middle of both of you guys. I'll say 1,100 just to be safe, as long as there's no injuries or anything like that. Because I mean, it's 17 games. Like 17 games, you can add those up. You don't have to have 100 yards every damn game. So I'll go with that.
Yeah, it's about 75 yards a game for the 1,250. And I just think That's why I said not as efficient, but he's going to get so much volume that if every week he's getting 20 plus carries in the run game, he's going to be averaging, 4.1 yards a carry. Like that stuff's going to add up to him having a really nice season. Like it's if he is not that guy and he's not that good or not out there, like it's going to be another tough season for Raiders fans. Like he has to show up and be the guy.
I'm here
Well,
for
and
the season.
the Raiders are relying on a lot of hope this year, like a lot of rookie hope. Like everybody's like Jeanty is coming in there, but whatever their weapons, like I don't understand what's not going to stop other teams from stacking the box against the Raiders. Like I'm trying to think, like you have Jacoby Myers, a good wide receiver, but is he a proven number one wide receiver? Probably not. Then you're hoping. Then they're like you have two rookie wide receivers that you're like, oh, they're going to break out. They're going to be great wide receivers. Hopefully, right? Like if they become good, then that opens it up. Yes, you have Brock Bowers, but he's also like you can move him around. But say I put my best cornerback on Brock Bowers, I'm not really worried about anybody else, and then you go from there. Like there's a lot of like to go. You were the worst offense in the league last year. You added a running back, cool, move you up. What else have you done to that offense besides bringing Chip Kelly and some rookie wide receivers? Like there's a lot that we need to get going and a lot of hope. Like people are already saying top 10 offense right here. And I'm like, can we pump the brakes a little bit and just at least see what they do in training camp?
Yeah, I've seen some pretty crazy takes. That's another thing that I'm bringing up with this topic. And it seems like where we really disagree is the touchdown. So I'm going under 10 touchdowns. You guys are betting on over 10 touchdowns. That's the real bet here. But yeah, that's something that I keep bringing it up too, is the fact that the Raiders had the 32nd rushing attack last year. Yeah, it's not going to be 32nd with Ashton Jeanty, but what did they do other than draft Ashton Jeanty to improve from 32nd? Because they weren't 32nd just because of the running backs only. That's not how that works. You know what I mean? And it's going to improve. Just Pete Carroll obviously is going to improve the rushing attack as well. But there are some projections that are absolutely insane on Jeanty. Before we move on to the next news topic, let's just also talk about our guy. The Chargers drafted running back in the first round as well. And J.K. Dobbins' stat line last year was 195, 905, 9 touchdowns rushing. I don't know if he had one. I think he had one receiving, so that would probably be 10 touchdowns. I think of Amari Hampton has a 1,000-yard season and 10 touchdowns. The exact same prediction I gave for Jeanty that I'm saying will be bad. I'll be absolutely elated for the Chargers to get that out of their guy. So it just depends, I think, on what your team needs, really.
Well, the three people in our division, even RJ Harvey for the Broncos, like that's the thing. Like that's like that was my draft day reaction right there. Like number 6, we could have had a lot more value. Still got a running back later on. So if all three of these guys end up with the same around the same time, but Jeanty has them beat by 200 more yards and maybe one more touchdown. Who wins draft day for that? Right? Who wins draft day? Like I'm not
the team that goes the furthest.
Yes, right. At the end of the day, what's the NFL about? It's about wins. It's not about the stats. It's not about having, we have the best running back, we have the best tight end, we have all the best this. At the end of the day, it's when you're walking around with the ring on your finger, and that's what you need to do. Like you need to win some damn games, not worry about individual stats. Look, I'll tell you right now, I don't give a damn if Jeanty wins Rookie of the Year. If the Raiders don't make the playoffs and if the Raiders aren't winning, then it doesn't fucking matter what he does.
So one of the things is like there's a commitment, there's a style of running, right? There's a commitment to it, and then the most important running of the football usually takes place in the fourth quarter, and you have to have that ability to go ahead and close out the game, which is I think where the Chargers really struggled last year. Mm-hmm. Clearly, that's where the Broncos were having trouble running the football all season. The Raiders were having trouble running the football. But if you go back and you watch like Chiefs games, it's like, well, Isaiah Pacheco's maybe not the greatest runner, but he's getting 5-6 yards. And like when it's time for the Chiefs to run the football, we know how that's going to work out for them. I would say all of the teams in this division added a playmaker because Rashad Smith is somebody that I think that Andy Reid is really going to be able to use for them. RJ Harvey it's going to be that situation where he's big explosive plays and opportunities, but is he going to be that kind of guy that can close out the game, or is that going to be Estime's job? With the Chargers, it's like you're bringing in, a big back and a bigger back, and then maybe even a huger back. Like, and I'm using words that don't make sense and aren't real words, but it's like there's clearly a design for that. But then you also have to have the offensive line component that says we want to get downhill in this situation and go. I would actually say like the Raiders and Chargers are designed very similarly, right? Where you have somebody who controls the middle of the field with Bowers and McConkey, and then you're trying to get guys that can go vertical. Because the Raiders offense, you got Trey Tucker, and then you draft Thornton. These guys are just going to be, like you got guys that can run the post route. And that's why you bring in Lambert Smith and Trey Harris on the Chargers end, where you got guys that can extend, and both teams have quarterbacks that can attack the deep part of the field. And it's going to be, can Geno Smith stay healthy and upright? And can the run game finish? And that will be, there's just a lot of ifs with the Raiders team where they're at right now in year one, figuring things out as far as play calling, talent, and that goes for all the teams.
Yeah. And the Broncos brought in a bunch of receivers too. Just kidding. They didn't.
Well, I mean, there's gonna be competition.
Evan Ingram's the receiver they brought in, I guess. That's who it was.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, they did bring in, like, I like Pat Bryant better than Broncos fans. Apparently, the internet, the comments I read is like they don't like that guy. But yeah, Evan Ingram. I think the Broncos will be a little bit more diversified than they were last year offensively.
All right. Speaking of offensive lines, Tony, and the Chargers bringing in some offensive line help, we did sign Mekhi Becton, the Super Bowl winning guard. No big deal. Just a really, really big deal. But with signing Becton, and the Chargers been managing
Super Bowl winning guard, but you couldn't say a bust tackle in the NFL from the Jets.
Hey, if you're a bust tackle and you move and become a Super Bowl winning guard, the bust tackle label's gone. The Super Bowl winning guard label's on, especially when you got a bolt.
Yeah, right? Imagine if your boy Leatherwood would have went to the Eagles.
Well, Leatherwood tried it. He tried to come to the Chargers and be, he tried.
And the Bears and a few other teams.
I actually have my Where's my Leatherwood? You're lucky I don't have the plaque here. I would pull it out. I have a giant Leatherwood plaque. Just for memories of Joe getting Leatherwood. Anyways, we're talking about offensive linemen because Rashawn Slater, I think, is the only Charger not practicing right now. And just briefly, it's because of a contract situation. The Chargers are going to have to pay Rashawn Slater to get him back out on the field. It's time to pay up for what this guy has provided for the team. But what I wanted to ask Tony, and you chime in as well, your opinion on this, Joe, from the outside looking in. Is there any worry that Harbaugh's considering moving Joe to left and finding a new right tackle instead of paying Slater?
No, it wouldn't make any sense to get to this point in the season and not do that. So I don't really worry about it. It would also be like really weird messaging because if you're going to be a team and the coach is talking about the offensive line as being a weapon, which it really is, it's a lost focus. It felt like for a few years, and now we're getting back to it. The more that the Eagles are getting better and you're seeing it, and then you're seeing the struggles on the opposite side with certain teams, or the way that the offensive line was able to work for the Buccaneers that they've been building up. So, like, I don't have any fears for that Rashawn Slater will eventually be there. I think Trey Pipkins was also possibly not there, so it's a couple of those offensive line guys. But, like, it'll start to get worrisome as far as, like, continuity because the Chargers are figuring out left guard and center. So you're going to want Slater out there for that component of when we start to actually get to training camp and where things start to get a little bit more serious, where the pads are getting on, and we want those guys out there. But as far as like, as long as he's on the roster, I feel great. And I think they're going to pay him. It's going to be numbers, guarantees, whatever that they're figuring out in the meantime.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm not super concerned either too much, Tony. It is kind of weird. Like, we have the cap space. It seems like we saved the cap space to sign Rashawn Slater. Let's get the deal done. Hopefully they get something done soon. But what were you going to say, Joe?
From looking, like you said, looking from the outside in, I think it would be a dumb move to move Slater. Like, the way you're building your team and the way everything you've done this offseason to get the running game going and just be like, hey, let's get this guy, like, let's get our pro tackle out of here. Like,
Yeah.
no, and I don't know why teams continue to wait. Like, you know that somebody needs a new contract. You already know that. Why do they wait? Why do they wait till the last second? All it does when you wait is cost you more money because somebody else is going to get another tackle is going to make a bigger deal and he's going to get it. And now Rashawn Slater is going to cost you $3 or $4 million more than you would have signed him for right now.
That's what doesn't really make sense to me, Joe, is like, if you have the cap space, you have the player that's eager to be a Charger, ready to sign the deal. He obviously is going to get top of the market pay. Like, let's just get the deal done. You say offensive linemen are your weapons. We're trying to build this thing. We use the six overall pick, just like you guys. But on the other side at tackle, sign guard. Like, let's just get it done. But go ahead, Tony. I'm sure you have a great explanation.
So I think that like last year when he was contract eligible or whatever that time was, we don't always know the player perspective. Like, what if they did go to him and they said, hey, we'll give you $25 million, even though we know Tristan Wirth just signed for 29 or whatever it is. And the player might say like, no, I'm good. You guys already picked up my 5th-year option. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bet on myself. He has another great season last year. And now he comes back to the table and says, hey, I've proven I'm worth this top of the line, new record-setting deal, which is what I wanted last year, and you weren't willing to give it to me. Now you're going to give it to me this year to keep me around here. So it's not always that the team isn't willing to do something. It's that the player might say, hey, I'm going to bet on my ability. And when you play tackle in this league, you've got all the leverage because every team is always searching for good tackle play. Like, there are very few teams, like even the Eagles are drafting guys for who's going to be the replacement for Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson had said on the Greenlight podcast he's kind of at a year-to-year basis at this point in his career. You can't tell me that organization doesn't have plans in place because they're a well-run organization. Same thing when you look at like teams like the Ravens. But there's 26 teams that every year it feels like they're searching for, oh yeah, guys, we need an offensive line. We have to start planning for this position. It's like you should be drafting a tackle, a guard, or a center every year. Probably multiple of them every single year.
So you're saying maybe it isn't the Chargers in the holdup here. Maybe it's the other side asking for more money that's the holdup here.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like sometimes you want certain guarantees in the contract and you're figuring things out and injury and bonus and all of these different things. It's like you want to know, like, what's the actual guaranteed number I'm going to get? And I think that those things take time to iron out.
Yeah. And I have utmost confidence that Slater, even during his off time, is out there doing something to get better at football, working out, doing something, getting ready for the season anyways. He's a football guy. So
he better be, because Max Crosby would eat his lunch.
Max Crosby runs away from that guy like the plague. Tries to avoid him at all costs. But anyways, let's talk about some AFC West free agents, and then we're going to talk about what we want our teams to do in free agency before it's too late and all the players are signed up. There's still some solid players left on the market, but one that just came out yesterday or the day before was Von Miller, and said that he wanted to return to the Broncos, but there doesn't seem to be interest on the other side. Now, I think the Broncos could use help at edge rusher, and maybe this will change as we get more into the offseason. Maybe Von Miller's price changes whatever he's asking for. There's also rumors that the Chargers were talking to Von Miller. What do you think, Tony, about Von Miller wanting to play one more season? Basically saying, I want to go out better than I did on that. Even though it wasn't like a terrible year for Von, he was still a member of the team, a member of the pass rush rotation. He put in some solid reps. He was for Buffalo still last year, right? Like, I personally think that he should go and join like a young room. Like, if you want to stay in LA, ask the Rams if they'll take you back or something. But what do you think for this one last push that Von is making to join a team? Do you think he's going to get on a squad?
So I do think at some point somebody's going to pay him. I don't think he's a great fit for the Broncos or the Chargers. And the way I would say it, well, like, I just pulled up the Broncos roster because I wanted to make sure I didn't leave anybody off. But I think Jonathan Cooper is a good player, underrated player. And then they drafted Jonah Ellis, I believe, from Utah. I think
I love
he's
that
got
guy.
a good player with promise. And then Nick Bonito on the other side. And usually, if you're going to have that extra edge rusher, they play special teams or they definitely play on early downs in the run. And he's kind of just a designated pass rusher at this point.
Yeah.
So the same thing goes with the Chargers, where it's like you're going to play Khalil Mack. He can play early down, late down, but you're not going to play him on special teams. We're trying to move Thule into that like future of the edge role. And I think Thule can actually be a double-digit sack guy in this league, no problem. You know, 12, 13 sacks a season. And so if you're bringing in Vonn, then you're losing snaps from one of those guys there. And then you also have Bud, who's an early down or late down guy, but probably not going to play special teams either. So if you add Vonn, then that definitely kicks Thule to special teams, even though that we got blanking on us, Kennard in the 4th round this year. It's like he's the guy that probably plays special teams. So like if you're asking me an edge rusher who I would want in that situation over him, it would probably be Clowney. I don't know if Clowney signed anywhere, but like he's somebody that's going to give you early rundown ability, going to give you some pass rush presence too. Like might not be a special teams guy at this point in his career, but like you can figure it out. He would be somebody I'd be more comfortable with having as the 5th edge rusher if that's what you're going to keep on the roster. But like right now, I'd rather get to camp and see like, do any of these undrafted guys jump off the screen? Does Tremont Morris brash? Does he step up and be a guy that can also play special teams and provide you with some pass rush? Like, let's get there. Let's not slow down the development of who we have on the roster to add a name that we're familiar with. That's my only thing.
Yeah, and he's 37. And I'm with you for all the reasons that you just said, Tony. And we already got Khalil Mack. Like, I don't need to live out some weird alternate reality where Von Miller, Khalil Mack, and are we going to go back and bring Derek Thomas out too? Like, and sign him to the Chargers? I don't need to see all these guys play for the Chargers, okay?
Oh, yeah, and the Broncos. I forgot this. I scrolled further here on our lads. Q Robinson. Like, he's a little bit of a developmental guy, but seems to be like sort of a speed rusher type that is also going to be in the mix there. Like, there's just not space for him on the Broncos roster.
Yeah. Joe, would you cheer Von Miller to the Raiders signing?
I don't know if I would cheer it. Just tell Von Miller, like, Von Miller, you already ripped off the Buffalo Bills for a lot of money. Nobody wants to pay you that much more money anymore. Like, you're not at the top of your game. You're 37 years old. You've had a bunch of injuries. The only thing that you're bringing Von Miller in is so he could be a player coach basically now, because yes, he has been one of the best sack leaders in the NFL, and he could teach some of the young guys. But like Tony said, you're also taking reps away from people that need it on the field. Von Miller at this point of his career will be somebody that's signed like late in the season when somebody gets an injury. Hey, come on in and do this. Like you said, there's the possibility if we could hope that Von Miller from the past comes out for a couple plays and you can have Max and you can have Von Miller going after the quarterback, but it's not there. Like when you watch Buffalo Bills games with him last year, like he doesn't have it. And that sucks because you hate to see when good players play past their prime and they don't have it anymore. And that's the reality that they got to just come up with. Like, but hey, Von Miller, you had a great career. You had a good career. Like
Hall of Fame career.
100%.
So you made your money. But I think Von Miller would be a great coach. Like he's the one that does the sack summit or whatever it is. Yeah. He brings all these people in. He's taught so many of these defensive linemen how to make moves and do all that. So I think there's other spots for him in the NFL. It just takes players a while to realize when their career is done.
That's why I think the Rams would be perfect. He even said it in the statement that he said about wanting to play one more year and all that. He even said, like, I have a lot of experience to bring to the – he's already mentioning, like, my value is in my experience in coaching and what I'm going to bring as a leader than it is necessarily as a premier pass rusher anymore these days. That's why I think the Rams are perfect. Y'all can bring in Jalen Ramsey on back. They're tired of him in Miami. Miami's having a fire sale, by the way. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news. But bring him in for Miami, get Von Miller back on, and now you got that young, hungry defense with the 2 Super Bowl winning leaders. Works out perfect.
I don't think that's a bad destination. I like the Bears, right? Like they have a lot of young guys opposite of Sweat at this point. So they did bring in what's his name, Odingbo from Indianapolis, who's another I think good player, sort of underrated a little bit. But then behind that, it's just a lot of younger guys that could benefit from being in the room with somebody who plays the style of Von Miller. And why not? While you're here on a rookie contract, find a way to step up. What did I say, Jim?
Von Miller got replaced by Joey Bosa, who only plays like 3 or 4 games a year. That's what Buffalo replaced you with. Like, so think about your value after that.
But I think too, again,
Joey's already hurt, Joe. Did you hear that? Joey's already out.
The dream with Bosa though is that he's going to hypothetically be effective on the early downs. Like he's going to play the run and provide you with some pass rush
on the early downs, only in the early games
when he gets on the field. I text you guys in the Chargers group chat we're in that was like Buffalo's only concern with the schedule they have this year should just be like, how do we get this guy to the postseason? Like we play him in half a dozen games throughout the regular season, and we need to get him to game day in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Chargers had a lot of depth at edge last year. They should have just been like, Bosa, we're gonna flat out rest you. We're going full James Harden on this into the playoffs.
I wouldn't have been upset if that would have been the case, but like you never know how these things work with contract wise, where it's like, hey, if you're playing in the game, you make a certain amount of money, and it's like they do technically give you a better performance than maybe what you have that you're calling up on the practice squad or something like that. And it gets tough to deal with the roster and injuries in other spots. So,
all right, one tough free agent, well, at least one free agent that's tough for me to talk about is Keenan Allen. And the fact that it seems like all of Keenan Allen's connections keep drawing back to the 4 AFC West teams. And I don't know about you, Tony, but the pipe dream of Keenan Allen back to the Chargers, it just seems to be more of a dream. The closer we get to the season, the more receivers the Chargers draft and sign and just keep stacking on the roster. They've given Keenan Allen's number away at this point. As a hopeful, crazy fan, I want to think the Chargers are going to have 7 receivers and sign Keenan Allen still. But reality is starting to set in that he could be a Raider.
The Raider thing doesn't make really any sense to me because you already have Brock Bowers, who's going to do a lot of that stuff in the middle of the field. And then you sign a player like Jack Besh. It's like, yes, Keenan Allen is probably better than him for the short term. But then what are you doing with the guy that you just picked in the second round, who's also probably going to be doing a lot of that like bigger slot type role? So I just don't see it there. The Broncos.
That's what I was about to say. Reality setting into me that he might be a Bronco.
Yeah, the Broncos. I could see that one a little bit more. And then even again, Mike, I know you hate this, but like
reality is setting into me that he might be a Chief.
Yes, that's the one where it's like, do the Chiefs eventually go like Keenan's a better option than Juju? Like, if we're going to get a suspension for Rashee Rice, where he might miss 6 games, and that's a situation where it's like...
They're going into the year with Hollywood kind of having to fill in Rashee Rice's spot. Very, 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 very unreliable to be out there as well.
I like Jalen Royals, the player they got from Utah State. I thought that was one of those picks where it's like, of course the Chiefs get this receiver in the 4th round that a lot of people were projecting like late 2nd, 3rd round pick. So if Jalen Royals steps up early on in camp and looks like a viable option and is understanding the playbook, the thing with the Chiefs is you bring in a veteran who understands how to take care of your body, how to get through a season, how to get open in the big moments. And it's like, that's Keenan Allen. Like, if Keenan Allen is an upgrade over Juju and he wants to go, he eventually just says, you know what, I'll come play for $7 million. I'm not asking for $10 to $15 million. I just want to play football this year and have a chance to win a Super Bowl. The Chiefs make a lot of sense. I think the Broncos can make some sense, but the Chargers right now and the Raiders, they don't make a ton of sense to me. Like if I was building a roster.
Let me throw a team at you that's not AFC West, Tony, for Keenan Allen, but because still think he wants to stay close to the West Coast, so I think that's why maybe he's drawn to the AFC West. But I mean, I could see maybe him going to one of these teams, as an older veteran guy. But I would say why not why not go to the San Francisco 49ers? Why not go to the 49ers? Like,
That's what I was
they
thinking.
need wide receiver help. You're a blocking guy. You're fit into their offense. Like you could do some stuff there. And it's a winning team. Like they win games, so you're not going to the bottom of the barrel. But I mean, that's where if you wanted to stay on the West Coast and you're a wide receiver like Keenan Allen, that's where I would go.
That was the other team I was going to bring up. I think that what will be best for his chances of ever being a Charger again, honestly, in my dream, is he waits. And he literally is saying, like, I won't play for a team outside the state of California, and waits to see if the Niners, Rams, or Chargers need a receiver in week 4. But I don't see him doing that because he's not that kind of player that needs to wait. He probably has enough interest to sign with an East Coast team right now. But he wants to come over, so he's already narrowed it to a pool of teams himself.
He just can't wear 13 in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's true. But 21, man. I want to see him rock that 21. That'd be nice.
I like watching him play football. So as long as it's not for one of those AFC West teams that I named, I'll be happy for Keenan.
No Broncos, no Chiefs, no Raiders.
Yeah, Raiders are trading for Chris Olave. They don't need Keenan Allen.
That's hilarious.
That might be a bigger nightmare, honestly. Because gotta deal with that for multiple seasons instead of just one season.
That extends the. There are some teams I definitely could see him being. It's like you look at the Jets roster and you're telling me Keenan Allen isn't an upgrade to that roster. Like there's a lot of teams out there where I'm like, yeah, this guy fits.
What about the Cardinals? Will the Cardinals think about it, you think?
I feel like the Cardinals have a lot of those interior options right now, and that's kind of where Marv can excel from.
Dortch still.
I think Dortch is still on the roster. They like to play Michael Wilson out of the slot once in a while. So I don't. And then you have McBride, kind of is that move tight end, flexes out there into that slot position. So I don't see that one as much. But there are definitely still a lot of rosters where I'm like, oh, this guy upgrades over, maybe like a Parker Washington for the Jaguars or something like that.
So if you want to know how much pain Mike will be in if Keenan Allen goes to one of the other AFC West teams, see this pencil? Stick that right through that little hole. That's how much pain Mike would be.
What hole?
Why? There's no need for a follow-up question. This is a sports.
All right. Well, if we're not going to get Keenan Allen, none of our teams are going to get Keenan Allen. Who are our teams going to get? Moving on to the next topic here. Our perfect free agents for each AFC West team. I'll go first here for the Chargers. Now, I think that the Chargers' biggest actual need would probably be one more tight end in my eyes. I don't have as much faith as other Chargers fans that are really optimistic, and I appreciate the optimism of the depth that we have at tight end as of today. But I hope that Tyler Conklin can have a good year for us. And then we filter in Will Dissly and the rookie we got. There isn't really any tight ends out there for us to grab. Honestly, a lot are on the trade block. Like Kyle Pitts joined the trade block today. Jonnu Smith was being shopped around. Mark Andrews, Dallas Goedert. There isn't really one out there for us to sign. And then you look at the Chargers at every other position. It's starting to look pretty good. I mean, our secondary is absolutely loaded. They got a bunch of receivers, as we just talked about. Keenan Allen, that would be an absolute fan pick if I said him. I think, like you were saying, Tony, one more edge rusher is what the Chargers need, but not Clowney. I'm not going with Von Miller. I want to go with someone a little bit younger that might have a little bit more juice, that's been injured his whole entire career, but maybe he can find a clean bill of health with our training staff, with Ben Herbert, who somehow got Bosa through that season last year. Let's get Carl Lawson in here as the Chargers take a flyer on him to be our fourth, fifth edge rusher, a guy that can go into the rotation, not take snaps from Tully like you're saying, Tony, but also maybe provide us with some high potential for a guy that could be a third edge rusher down the line or a second edge rusher down the line still as a veteran guy in the room. So I'm going to go Carl Lawson for the Chargers. I'll let you go ahead, Tony, and go next so we can stay on the Chargers.
I want to strongly disagree with your tight end take. I think that room is got blocking and receiving options in it this year, and I'm one of those very optimistic.
I think you're higher on Tyler Conklin than I am.
He's just a steady player. He catches the football at a high rate, and he's a usable tight end that in bad situations always gets like 500 yards. He's a good red zone option, and I think going to play with the best quarterback that he's ever played with. You could, yeah. I mean, people would make some arguments otherwise. For me, I would probably, and I can't really say which one it is, but mine would probably be like going interior offensive line. That would be the one spot where I would add a player. But just to give like a name for me, and I don't believe this player is signed. I was trying to look to see if they were there, but a name that's more fun for this podcast is Stephon Gilmore. Like, I know that they would like to play a little bit more man coverage this year. And I think that, well, he might not be as athletic as he's been in the past. I think just how smart and how much knowledge he has, that he would still give them a huge boost in that room as far as like bringing in a veteran that's going to be able to pick up the defense really fast. And when you ask him to, like in zone, he's still going to be the guy. Can he still get it done in man coverage well enough where it's like, hey, we're going to let this guy play, like going back and watching Cam Hart play Jamar Chase in that game, like he was fantastic in the first half of that football game. Leaves the game, it's like, okay, so we're sending Cam out there to play man coverage on the one. Can you bring in Stephon Gilmore and have him compete to be like where you feel like you have two really good, strong outside corners, and then finding different ways to still have good tackling on the field, where if you want to be in dime or nickel defenses where you might have Derwin and Still down there too. Like that's a good tackling unit while being able to provide some coverage. So
that would take our secondary to some crazy levels. There's also some connections with Derwin James and Jalen Ramsey also. That would be interesting for similar reasons. But Joe, I know that you don't want to see the Chargers sign anyone else, but who do you want to see the Raiders sign?
If I was looking at the free agents market right now, and there's one guy that pops out that I'd be like, I think he'd be great on the Raiders. Justin Simmons. I would like to have Justin Simmons come in, play safety for us. I know they already signed Jeremy Chin, but Jeremy Chin's like a Swiss Army knife that you can move around. You can bring him up in the box. He's gonna play. You can linebacker. He's gonna lay the hit on the running backs. You can do a lot with Jeremy Chin, and you can have Justin Simmons sit back there. I like Palomau. I like Thomas Harper. I like even Lonnie Johnson, the guy they signed. But Justin Simmons is a top pro and out there playing at a high level, and you can't. It's hard to find good safeties better than that. So, I mean, if you're going to add somebody, he would be somebody at the top of my list.
I think that's a good take. I was going DB for the Raiders too. If I had to pick, I was going to say go ahead and Asante Samuel Jr. seems like a Pete Carroll kind of player. They could use help in the secondary. He's played outside, but he probably should play inside, so you could use him at both and try him out. He's still young. I think he's only 26 or 27 still. He's probably going to take a one-year deal, but the worry is obviously the tackling. He's not been the best tackler at corner in his career.
Small too. That does not feel like a Pete Carroll. Like
the one that Raider fans throw out a lot is Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that working out like a slot guy.
How big is Mike Hilton? I think they're the same size, but
Mike Hilton's he's going to be more of a slot corner.
That's what Asante should be, but he keeps refusing.
I think if you want to watch some fun Mike Hilton highlights or video or whatever, go back to second half Lab McConkey Bengals game.
That was fun for Lad or fun for Mike?
It I'm saying it was fun for us Chargers fans
Oh
watching.
yeah, go lad. I don't want to see.
I think the Raiders cornerback position is better than people give it credit for right now. I think the
Who's
Raiders
going to be their cornerback one?
probably Bennett, right? Bennett would have to be the number one, and then you have DeCarrion Richardson, which is looking good. You have Eric Stokes, who could become something. So I mean, it's not. I don't think it's too bad of a room right now.
I think it's a lot of ifs, right? Like it's a lot
Yeah.
of it's the room of kind of complete unknown at this point, because can you get the most out of Eric Stokes? Richardson, a fast player, bigger corner, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And so it's like, does he reach his potential? Bennett is another fast corner who's shown flashes. I think there's a fourth in there that's also could maybe play, could, like, again, if he reaches closer to the ceiling, he's there. Yeah. For me, Joe, I think, like, who's your guys' linebacker that you're like, are we getting to like Tom?
Their defense is not good. It's just not good.
I would be looking at like CJ Mosley. I would want a veteran linebacker that I know is going to be able to communicate all the calls, be getting guys in places. And so that will either be somebody on the back end like a Justin Simmons, or somebody like CJ Mosley in the middle of the field. It's like, hey, we have this experienced middle linebacker. He kind of has the Bobby Wagner role of like making sure all these young guys are not having to worry about where they are, he's getting people in place and is able to make adjustments. That's the direction I would go.
That I think is one of the biggest question marks for the Raiders is their linebacker position. But when I was looking at the free agents available, I don't know. I wasn't jumping on any of them. I know they have Devin White. And then they signed Jalen Smith after a rookie camp.
Devin White might actually start.
But isn't
he is listed as the starter right now? Yes,
he's going to be more of an edge guy, and I thought kind of the problems were always like that he couldn't be the leader, like the guy who gets people on the same page. Wasn't that kind of the situation with Tampa? Like.
And then they signed Roberts from Pittsburgh this year, which is a hard hitter, not so good in coverage, but that guy can lay the hit. And then I guess they're hoping that some rookies like Gainer and Tommy, what's his name, Tommy Etchenberg from last year. I'm hoping that they.
Or whatever.
I wasn't like a lot of people are high on Tommy like Etchenberg. I wasn't impressed with them last year.
I feel you, Joe. Maybe Eric Kendricks is still a player that I think offers, really, like, from that position, you need really strong leadership from that. You need ability, obviously, is very helpful too. But like, one thing you have to have, like, for the defense to be successful is like Bobby Wagner's not playing as good as he did 5 or 6 years ago, but he can still be a really strong presence for the Commanders on that defense. He's still going to be able to communicate what they want for Dan Quinn on the field to make sure everybody's lined up where they need to be, playing their gaps correctly, like audible situations, like line shifts or whatever it is. Like, you need to have somebody that's played a lot of football at that position, or a super freak. You gotta have one or the other. And right now, I don't.
I think that all three of us are gonna die before the Raiders get another elite corner. I mean, when was the last one? Was it Charles Woodson? They don't even try. They don't even try at that position anymore. They don't even try at that position anymore. They just are like, well, we're gonna bring in whoever can help us get a higher pick at this point.
Well, that's gonna be very different, I think, under this regime at a certain.
Yeah, you think Pete's gonna really prioritize that position over the years. It should change. That's why I had them drafting Barron, Joe. That's the ironic part. Is I had them drafting Barron, and then he falls to the Broncos.
If Eric,
that was my top 2 picks. It was Mason Graham and then Barron were the 2 that I thought. But
Mason Graham looks nice too. I know he's just running around in a t-shirt, but just seeing him run drills and stuff, he don't look like a D tackle.
He's a good player. That's why I thought that vomit video you guys sent.
He's bricked up. He's thick. He's thick.
If Stokes hits, the they could have something there. It's like that second landing spot because he did not pan out for what the Packers thought he was going to be, and if he reaches his potential, that'd be huge for the Raiders.
And the one thing I don't think we're taking into account is coaching. Like, if you can get if you could play for the right coach and get the love of the game back at you, like Tony talked about, like Green Bay throws a lot of players out. They get people and it's they get people in there, and sometimes it doesn't work out because of where they're at. But you would think that maybe Pete Carroll can change some of these guys and get like you guys saw the question I asked Jeremy Chin. Why did you sign with Las Vegas? Pete Carroll. That was the easiest thing that he said. So maybe coaching can get the best out of some of these players, and we've seen it where you sign a coach and the player is a totally different player the next season.
Yeah, that's happened before for sure. I mean, the Chargers were a whole different team from signing a coach last year, from 5 wins to double 11 wins. But really quickly, as a group, what do you think for the Chiefs? I had Mark down here briefly. I know we're not talking about trades, we're talking about signings. I still think that they're on the books to trade for Tyreek Hill if Tyreek Hill's price continues to drop intentionally. I'm not being fooled by their BS. They all got matching haircuts. They all are in group chats. They're all in group Twitters. And now Tyreek Hill is literally on live stream basically saying, like, yeah, I don't like Mike McDaniel. Yeah, I want to get traded. All this stuff. He's lowering his – I'm not falling for this bullshit with the Chiefs. But I was thinking that – I think I had Justin Simmons as their perfect signing. Didn't they just lose Justin Reed?
Yeah.
I want their secondary to take a step back. I want their defense to take a step back. But no matter how many times or how many players they lose, and I predict them to not be as good, they get better. So they probably are going to get better. But it only makes sense to replace Justin Reed with another veteran to lead that defense. Justin Simmons, who's probably also wanting to go ring chasing, goes to KC. That was my perfect match for them. But what do you think, Tony, for the Chiefs?
I don't know if I have a name, but I would say, like, if I was going to, it would probably be corner, right? It would, like, to give them the opportunity to make sure that they can move McDuffie wherever they want in that defense, or safety. They're pretty good. Like,
they're good.
Yeah. Like edge, I guess edge rusher. Like, maybe they're a Clowney destination. It would probably be somewhere defensively, because I don't think that there's a tackle out there that's going to be an upgrade over what they have, like where their concerns are at offensive line. And I think they have plenty of great options as pass catchers right now. And like you're saying, if they trade for Tyreek Hill, that's ridiculous.
Any shout outs, Joe, for the Chiefs' perfect free agent in addition?
Nick Chubb. Okay. Bring in Nick Chubb.
Yeah, and we were talking about the running back thing and how, drafting in the first round, and all of our teams having to try and find running backs, while the Chiefs literally go and grab their guy from 8 years ago who punted someone in the head and put him back out there, and he rushes for 1,000 yards with his eyes closed. So
I don't know what Nick Chubb has, but I heard I've read that he's healthy and ready to go. And
I want Chubb to the Cowboys. I want Chubby Chubb to Dallas. That's what I want to see.
I don't know. I've always rooted for Nick Chubb, so I want to see him in a good situation. And it's cool to say Chubb all the time.
And then for the Broncos, I think the Broncos wide receivers are getting way, way overhyped. Last year and this year, they didn't really add anyone. You got Sutton out there, who I guess is their wide receiver 1, even though he's 31 and he just had his second. He only has 2,000-yard seasons, and he barely passed that mark in 17 games last year. With one starter, all the Broncos fans said that he didn't put up the numbers because his quarterback was always rotating and all that. He had one starter the entire year last year, and they still didn't upgrade the position. Maybe they think Mims or Vele is going to be their wide receiver 1 of the future. Troy Franklin maybe breaking out. So I think I would go receiver for Denver's perfect free agency ad, and get their rookie quarterback, another weapon maybe. I was thinking either Gabe Davis or Amari Cooper for them. I think Gabe Davis is probably a better fit for Denver. So I'm going to go with Gabe Davis for them.
Gabe Davis.
I forget that. I keep forgetting that Amari Cooper's still out there.
Amari Cooper is still out there. He can still run a nice route.
But he fell off so much with Buffalo last year that you didn't even remember that he was on the team.
That's true. Well, he did pitch it to Josh Allen when he definitely didn't get stopped for forward motion.
The Broncos one for me is J.K. Dobbins.
Oh, I like that. I probably didn't even think of that in my head. Just erase that one.
Yeah, just like I think if they can add somebody to be sort of like,
That makes
have
so much sense, actually.
like a Pierre Thomas and Darren Sproles type backfield that they could have for like those type of players that he's had in his past, where you have somebody that's, going to have a chance to get you some explosive plays when it's blocked up like J.K. Dobbins, and then somebody that's just going to be able to create and you can design those type of plays with R.J. Harvey.
I think that's a good take. I do. That's probably a better take than mine, even, Tony. So you win this topic. Let's move on here. By the way, Tony, do you got to go right now?
No, we're good.
Okay. We're going to talk about these AFC West coaches because Pete Carroll has joined the arena. He has joined the competition for the AFC West of great coaches. So we're going to go over the records versus each other. So Jim versus Peyton, Sean Payton versus Pete Carroll, Andy Reid versus Jim, and just talk about all the twisted rivalries, memories that we can remember on hand from these coaches from the past, and some. Let's start here with Jim Harbaugh. Honestly, the whole division owns Sean Payton. Jim Harbaugh is 4-1 versus Sean Payton in his career, and then Andy is 5-4 versus Sean Payton in his career, and Pete Carroll is 4-3 versus Sean Payton in his career. Sean Payton's 8-13 versus these coaches in his career. So basically, I'm saying that Sean Payton's the bitch in the room.
You a bitch, Sean Payton.
Yeah,
you a bitch.
Yeah. That's what I'm basically saying. Like, he should see his way out first if anyone's gonna lose.
Kevin James played you in a movie because you a bitch.
And one of those wins was last year when the Chiefs rested like Mahomes and Kelsey and Chris Jones. That was a beneficial victory there. But they
probably got a bounty put on our head now after that.
Oh, be careful. Yeah.
You call Sean Payton a bitch, you're gonna get a bounty put on you.
Joe's gonna check the mail. Greg Williams is gonna be standing in his yard.
No, not Greg Williams with his visor.
Yeah. Just like, all right, here we go. He's like,
no. What's the most memorable moment between these ones? One of the ones I wrote down was Sean Payton versus Jim Harbaugh, the NFC divisional playoffs back in 2012. The catch 3, Vernon Davis was versus the Saints. I forgot about that, honestly, until I looked it back up when he's running across the front of the end zone, right, and he catches it, and that sent him to the Super Bowl or the next round.
Is that the one where he got blasted like right at the goal line when he made the catch?
He's crying to the sideline.
I was gonna say, I remember him crying.
They lose the Super Bowl that year, I think. The Niners lose that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that was either that was the second round.
That's the Ravens.
Didn't they go on and beat somebody? That was a second round matchup, I thought.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Played somebody in the NFC Championship game. I can't remember.
They lost to the Giants in the NFC Championship game? A muff?
Was it Kyle Williams?
Was it a muff punt in overtime?
I got too many numbers.
Or Niners fans.
There's so many Niner fans, the Niner crying moments that it's all running together now, right? Like,
yeah. Help us in the chat for Niners fans.
So I didn't
exactly
look
what game that was.
I didn't do any research for this topic, so I just want to throw mine out there that sticks out in my head. And it was only because I rewatched the game like right after Harbaugh got hired. And I think it was like 2011. It's kind of a rainy day or whatever. And they're down 23-3. And in the second half, the 49ers came back and beat the Eagles. Andy Reid was the head coach of the Eagles at the time and won the game 24-3. And it was just a complete flip of what had happened. In the second half of that game, it was like Shady McCoy got slowed down and Michael Vick couldn't do anything right. And all of a sudden they were able to shut down Deshaun Jackson. And it was like just a masterclass of just ass-kicking football in the second half by the 49ers. It
also helped, that Alex Smith stopped fumbling the ball. He fumbled the ball twice in the first quarter of that game, and Harbaugh was not happy because, what happened the next season.
Yeah. You've been replaced.
But yeah, I did. I remember that game from a video I was making, Tony. I watched that game back too. I think it's a 1-point win. Mike Vick had like 500. I want to say that Mike Vick had the most yards he had in a game in that game.
The first half of that game, he was like crushing everything.
Insane.
Like the 49ers were just getting dominated on all fronts.
Yeah.
And then the second half, it was completely flipped, and they come back for a 1-point win in that football game, and it was fun.
Yeah. One more bad note for Peyton also in the rivalries versus all the other coaches is the fact that he would be 5-4 versus Andy Reid instead of 4-5 if that kick doesn't get blocked last season. So that's the separator between those two. But one big memory that I have here that we didn't bring up here, I'm surprised Joe didn't bring up. It's got all of his guys all over it. It's basically a Raiders moment. Beastquake was on the Saints on Sean Payton. They're both there watching it, sideline view. You got Marshawn Lynch, Raider, Pete Carroll, Raider, running it for the Seahawks.
In that moment when I'm watching that, I'm like, there's no way that he can continue to just break all of these tackles. Like, what is happening right now?
Was it the week before or the week after he does it to the Cardinals also? The exact same thing almost.
I think it was the week before.
Yeah. So like everyone already was like, Marshawn Lynch is just running through people. So we're already kind of wanting it to happen.
Yeah.
Very much like after Derrick Henry stiff arms Josh Norman, now every time Derrick Henry stiff arms, it's a moment.
Yeah, all those guys. I'm looking forward to some Najee.
Oh, yeah. He dribbles people.
Yeah,
he dribbled Raiders specifically, Joe. I know you remember watching the game.
Who, Najee?
Yeah.
Najee's on my fantasy team if you guys want to trade for him.
He's up for grabs.
Just throwing it out there early so you Charger fans can come at it. But what's Pete Carroll? Pete Carroll versus Jim Harbaugh. What are they? 6-6?
It's 5-5 if you combine college also. So if you include college, they're even. I think they're even in the NFL also. I don't know the exact record, but Andy versus Pete has a 5-3 advantage on Pete, and then it all boils down to Harbaugh, 3-2 versus Andy Reid. And I just want to point out, you take out the double doink, and Jim Harbaugh will be 4-1 versus Andy Reid in his career if it wasn't for a freaking double doink.
But a what if? What? But a bunch of whats right
I really
there.
will be bragging. 3-2 is still good though, because he was undefeated going into last season with a 5-win team and took him to a 1-score game twice with a team that won 5 games the year before. Won 5 games the year before and got rid of all of its best players.
Well, I mean, that's not true. But
best players of its previous era.
No, that's not true either. Like,
they got rid of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler in the same offseason and improved by double the amount of wins, Tony.
And
Come
still
on.
had Justin Herbert, Khalil Mack, and Derwin James.
You still like a 5-win team with Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler. You take those guys out, and they went to a 11-win team.
I'm not saying the team got better. It wasn't like they got better by losing all those players.
They got better because of the person that was leading us, right? He's just that good. He's better than Andy. He's better than Pete, and he's better than Sean Payton.
No arguments here. I definitely.
Hey, but what is Pete, Sean Payton, and Andy Reid have? Yeah, you might have wins over them. Well, what do those 3 guys have that one guy doesn't have?
What?
He's talking about a Super Bowl ring. That's all he wants to know. He just wants you to say, like,
oh, championships? Jim's won he won championships more recently than, right?
Any of them.
We're talking about college? We're talking about college?
I think it's harder to win the national championship than maybe not actually. You have more competition technically to win the national championship.
Yeah, for a technicality, sure.
Technically. But I mean, the level of competition might be a little higher in the NFL.
I think here's the thing is that, like, I think that this is a few years ago, it was the AFC West has the quarterbacks that we've never, and that was like when Russ first got traded there, and the Derek Carr was still there, and it was Herbert and Mahomes, and everybody was going crazy about how good it was going to be. The difference that is happening now is that all of these coaches that are in this have proven track records of how to build successful programs. And if you told me like any team, fill in the blank, won this division at the end of the year, I would be like, they managed to stay healthy, and if they stayed healthy, their coach is going to coach, and they won the division. Like, obviously it's a little bit harder to do with certain teams, but you could paint a picture of every team in this division winning the division. And that's what makes it so exciting, is that you need like all health to be on your side.
You could paint, Tony, yes, you personally, me and you and Joe, we could paint a perfect picture where the Raiders win the AFC West, but the market says, and this is a perfect transition, that the Raiders have no chance at winning the AFC West. Zero almost. Well, they're saying the Raiders have a 3% chance. According to all markets on this Polymarket website, has put together this calculation and are giving the Raiders a 3% chance to win the AFC West. They're giving the Broncos a 22% chance, the Chargers a 23% chance. It's basically the same. And then the Chiefs, of course, a 53% chance. So, I mean, yeah, you're saying there is a 3% chance that the Raiders win the division, but is that really a chance? Like, when I say 99.9% sure, I mean,
hey, you only need a 1% chance. You like in poker, you need a chip and a chair, and you could go wherever you want with it. So you only need that little chance. Like what did they say, Tony? So you're saying there's a chance, right? That's all. That's it. You shoot your shot and whatever happens. But in the perfect world, like those computers take out the human aspect of any sport that we have out there. Mm-hmm. You're not taking anything into accountability. They're probably not even taking weather into it. There's so much that go into it. And like Tony said, injuries happen. And one guy goes down, like Herbert goes down, that changes your whole season.
Knock on wood. Oh, wow, thank you.
One thing goes down, it's a big injury. Like same thing with the Chiefs. If Mahomes goes down, come on, or it changes the whole season. So you can give percentages, you can say records, you can say whatever you want, but at the end of the day, we got to see how it goes.
And I think that my comment is obviously that's the quarterback is key, but for me, it's more like which offensive line stays the healthiest throughout the year. You can usually tie things back to that level of a success. Which team has the healthiest group of defensive backs throughout the year? You can usually tie some success to that, because like the way we're passing the football, and I'm saying we like as if I'm part of the NFL, the game that we're watching right now, it relies so heavily on being able to provide healthy coverage on the back end. If you can cover, you can turn average pass rushers into good pass rushers. Like the two things go together so well. But if you start having giant holes, like good teams are just going to attack the shit out of it, and you're just going to get abused every week in the same aspects of your team. And that's why, like, going in, the teams are all so close, but then injuries separate them. Depth on the roster, coaching on the roster makes the margins, which are so thin to start in June, by the time you get to November, December, it's like these teams aren't even close.
Which is exactly why we're here on this podcast today, to give our record predictions on June 1st. So, way too early record predictions. Let's start with Joe. I want to hear yours. I do.
For the whole division or just the Raiders?
Yeah, let's just go with Raiders first.
7-10.
Holy shit.
Are you serious?
Fuck no. I'm talking about 17-0, baby. You trying to come at me like that? You know the Raiders running through all these games. Ain't nobody stopping the Las Vegas Raiders this season. Gonna go 7-10. Come on, man. And you guys were bought into that. Look at your faces like, oh, nah, hell no.
I was like, Joe, the internet is, you are looking for reasons for Raiders fans to hate you by saying that shit into a, oh man.
Are you gonna give us a synopsis or anything at least?
I just told you 17-0. Best running back in the game. Best tight end in the game. Geno Smith balling out 5,500 yards, 45 touchdowns. Max Crosby, 38 sacks on the season. It's going to be wild. Like, you ever play Madden on rookie mode? That's how the Raiders were going to treat the NFL this year. Just running through them like 100-0 every game.
38 sacks. That would be.
I told them at the beginning of the show this was going to be an unbiased take. That's not bias. That's just straight delusion. That's past bias. That's over the next level past bias. You're outside the bias box even at this point.
No, but my real record is 7-10 is for the Raiders. Like,
okay,
I'm not so confident this year, and maybe that's a good thing because everything I say, the opposite happens. So, I'll take 7-10, and I, to me, that for a first year with Pete Carroll with some of these guys, I'll take that. I think the Raiders are going to be very, very, very competitive, and they're going to be hanging in some of these games. But like you said, we got to win those games at the end of the game. And if it does happen, then you steal like 2 or 3. Like I say, 7-10, they steal another 2 or 3 games. They're right there in the playoffs. So it just depends. Like I'm looking at the schedule, going, okay, this is it. But I could see him taking another win or two, or Pete Carroll's, or somebody taking over a game and winning 1 or 2 more, and we're good. But at this point, I'm saying 7-10, and you can hate all you want and say I'm not optimistic or whatever. But it's a tough division. It's a lot of changeover in the first season, and you try to get everybody on the same page. A lot of rookies. Like this is the one good thing I like about this Raider team. It's a young team. It's a very young team that they're going at. We haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah, for the first time, maybe we've agreed before. It's starting to become a regular occurrence on the show, honestly. But we're agreeing on this. Exactly, Joe. I did think that the Raiders improved in a sense that just getting Pete Carroll versus Antonio Pierce is night and day in the operation from start to finish, from day one to whatever the season ends. So that alone, I think, improves your team a ton. Now, if I was the Raiders, I would have focused on O-line, or I would have focused on defense. But you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to get some excitement immediately back into this franchise from the fan base who's been chanting to fire the last couple of freaking coaches on the sidelines. It's been a mess. So I think that they just want to get those juices back with that Ashton Jeanty pick, and that's what really separates it. They would have went left tackle, and they would have gotten Colton Miller out of there finally, which I've been saying they should have been doing for 5 years, and they would have improved in the secondary and all that. I could predict the Raiders to do what the Chargers did in 2024 and double their win total. I would never do that. I am having them almost double their win total, though, Joe. I also have them at 7-10. That's almost doubling their win total from a year ago, and Raiders fans are calling me an idiot. What do you guys want? I'm doubling your win total.
So they were 4-13 last year. Yeah, I'm gonna double the win total at 8-9. And like I said, I think that I think the floor with Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, the ability to have a pass rush. Part of my thing with the Raiders when I look at it is like they have key contributors coming back from injuries. So like when Pete Carroll talks about like Christian Wilkins, it's like, is he even going to start the season healthy? Like Kuntz, is he going to be able to be out there and be effective at the beginning of the year, right? Like, and then you're mixing in new coordinator with coach, with teammates, with whatever. So like, I think it takes a little bit to get going, but I believe that Pete has the ability to keep it together and for the Raiders to finish the season stronger than it starts. And for a lot of teams to be saying like, oh, the Raiders year is 2026. Like they'll be a popular team to be not win the division, but a team that people are like, oh, I really like the Raiders to be a playoff team in 2026.
Yeah, I think overall that's my sentiment too. Maybe Pete isn't going to make the Raiders great again. He's making them functional again.
Yeah. Well, it's just about being competitive and being in the game. Like there were so many times watching a Raider game last year where after halftime you were like, we're done. It's over. They're not going to make the adjustments. It's completely done. And the only thing when you watching a game, like losing sucks. Watching your team lose, but as long as your team is competitive, you can hang your hat on some things in the loss. That's the main thing. Like, and it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, it has. I'm enjoying it. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, let's go straight to the Chargers now and give my unbiased take on the Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to be a team that's similar to last year, but like we're saying with the Raiders, even more continuity, even more chemistry. I mean, we're set at both tackles once the Slater deal gets done. Imagine Joe Alt gets better than last year, where he's going head to head with Max Crosby, going head to head with TJ Watt, and getting beat once in an entire game. We're pretty set at corner, Tony. I know you said to add Stephon Gilmore, that'll be a luxury pick at corner. I mean, we got some players at that position with some potential. The Chargers wide receiver room has been addressed. They have 4 running backs. They addressed the interior part of the O-line. I mean, how do we not go 17-0? How do we not go undefeated this year and go all the way to the Super Bowl and win it here in California?
I'm all for it, and
I'm just kidding. I have us going 11-6 again. I think our schedule is way harder this year when you just look at it game for game. So I think that we have the same win total, but are a much better team. Not a first round exit like we were last year, and having to be carried by our quarterback to that level, honestly, to a playoff caliber team. Instead, we are a playoff caliber team with that playoff caliber quarterback, and we are helping him on that same level. I think the Chargers win 11 games and win this division via tiebreaker because they go 5-1 in the division.
I really like that. I have them as my division winner too at 12-5. Everybody keeps talking about how the schedule got harder, but it's like the team also can get better, right? Like a lot of these games that they were losing last year, not all of them, but some of them can turn into wins, right? Where it's like they were beating all of the teams that they should pretty soundly for the most part. There was like the Atlanta game, which was a little funky, and losing that Cardinals game was not a great game to lose. But like in a lot of these games where the teams just had, the answers in the second half. And again, all of these things are like, what does the team's health look like coming out of training camp? Is Mekhi Becton on the field and healthy, ready to go? Yeah. Like, are all those guys out there? Like, is Mike Williams coming out of camp and ready to start the season healthy and adding that, that element of being able to stretch the field more reliable than what we had last season? I like them to be, just because the schedule on paper gets harder doesn't mean that the team maybe loses more games than they did the year before, because every team that eventually gets to sustaining success, their schedules are hard every year.
Yeah.
Like, do you think the Ravens look around or the Chiefs look around or the Bills look around and go like, oh, it's hard every year? Now, it helps for the AFC East, who's ever on top of that division, that the other 3 teams always somehow seem to be in complete disarray, and that's how the Patriots can run a division for 2 straight decades. But like, it's going to be a tough division and a tough schedule, but I think they can find a way to win these games because the run game will be what people thought it would be last year or hoped it would be last year. I think this year, this is one of the better rushing football teams in the NFL, and that will usually lead to stocking up wins, keeping the team relatively healthy throughout the year.
Yeah, I think even a layer deeper than that, and I'll let you go ahead and give your prediction, Joe, after this, is to keep our quarterback healthy. I mean, that's very obviously a key to success in any team, but our quarterback specifically, it's not that he gets hurt. He's out there playing hurt. We need to try and avoid that. Like that Steelers game, in that loss, he's playing close to 50%, it feels like, at times. Like, he's on one leg. He's hobbled. He's struggling already. I hope that we can get those pass protection issues that the Chargers had early on the year specifically that caused him to get really banged up addressed, and he's not getting hit the way he was. There's a certain amount that he's going to take just because of his play style, but I really hope that the Mekhi Becton ad, you're helping out with the running backs. They're trying new things on the interior at center. We need to not have our $60 million guy getting put on his back to complete passes. We want him to be able to stand up and complete them. But go ahead, Joe. What's your prediction?
Looking at the Charger schedule, tough. They're traveling the most. Most of it's all in the week 1 anyway. Like, I think that was blown out of proportion of the way the travel schedule was. Most of those miles are going to accumulate week one. If I had to guess right now, 3-14, 3-14 for the Chargers. Like, you don't like that one, Mike? Huh? You don't like 3-14?
I get trolled too much to get trolled straight to my face by one of my best friends. Okay.
I think I'm right there with Tony. Like, I'm going back and forth. Like, I don't think the Chiefs win the division this year. So I think it's up for grabs. And I've been going back and forth on the win total for the Chargers, and I think you guys are right around there, 11, 12, and I'd probably lean more towards the 12 mark for the Chargers, and possibly see them as the new division champion this year. And that doesn't
really
help
see
because
this
now
team.
all the Raiders fans are like, "Yep, you're a Charger fan." That's what they're gonna say. I'm a Charger fan.
Yeah, I totally won't clip that up at all. But yeah, I'm hoping that we can start to see that Smash Mouth football implemented the way it's meant to be implemented. Because they tried last year, they didn't have the horses to really push it down people's throat the way they wanted.
We can say this every year, but the downfall of the Chiefs is coming, and we can say it. And one year we're going to be 100%. One year we're going to be 100% correct.
It's going to happen eventually. And I was going to say, I was going to add this to the news segment earlier. Like, it is good news. We are in year 9 of Mahomes now. I mean, I feel like we're already past halfway if we're in year 9.
Do not become that LeBron hater where he's like, LeBron turns 30 this year. That shit's almost over. And then he's like,
done. Get him out of here.
LeBron, 10 years later, the same tweet. LeBron turns 40.
20 years later.
Almost done. It's like
John Cena was the champ in 2005, 2015, and now he's the champ in 2025. It's like he ain't never going nowhere.
No,
he ain't going nowhere.
The thing that has happened, I think, that makes the Chiefs more vulnerable is every year that the connection between Mahomes and Kelsey and whatever. That's why, like, it'd be really devastating for Tyreek to come back, right? Because there's already a built-in understanding, use of chemistry there. And then it's like, yes, Kelsey's can be there, but can he be able to do it every single week? And I think last year's answer was like, we've already seen he can't just be magical back to back anymore. And when that stuff starts to wear off, and then you have questions at offensive line,
especially tackle.
The thing is, if the Chiefs figured out this tackle thing, if they hit on this kid from San Francisco, and they the Sumateia, the guy they drafted, fits in nicely at guard, we're all fucked. Like, if they just figure out offensive line that fast, like, we're all going to be screwed again in the AFC West. But I'm kind of thinking that it's a little bit trickier than it has been in the past, and people are starting, hopefully, to be able to watch how to rush Mahomes effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it seems like everybody always just sort of rushes too far upfield. You have to rush him as a unit, like, with discipline. You know, like, you can't just run upfield. He'll find it and he'll go. Like, that's successful. Real quick, I would go Broncos 11-6, Chiefs 10-7.
Yeah, I have the Chiefs at 11-6. I have the Broncos at 9-8. I think Denver's defense will be great again, but again, I keep going back to their offense, not really impressing me that much. I'm also a Bo Nix doubter, so I'm not going to stop doubting him today. I'm going to keep doubting him. And I do think that, like, I'll keep saying, I do think he is better than Drew Lock. I do think he's going to be a good quarterback. I don't know if he's going to take a leap. I think that now some tape is out on him. Some of his mistakes might get exposed a little bit more. And then, like, that little tuss that he had with Sean Payton on the sideline. Everyone just throws that kind of stuff out and doesn't talk about it. Rookie quarterbacks don't talk back to their supposed to be historic head coaches. Just, I don't know. I think there's something more to it. I think that they were starting to get frustrated with each other already midway through last year. So I'm hoping that the Broncos also, along with the Chiefs, which might be hopeful thinking, because along with everything you said about the tackle and everything you said about figuring out Mahomes and trying to get better at beating the Chiefs, their secondary by math every year should get worse. But the coaching, and they just put it together. They're good drafters at that position, and defense in general. The pass rush is always amazing. They find a way to make guys who only us have heard of play at Pro Bowl level in the secondary every year. So they should get better. So it might be hopeful thinking. I have the Chiefs at 11-6. like I said, with the Chargers winning the division 5-1, sweeping the Raiders and Broncos again, and only losing one of the 2 games to the Chiefs.
The downfall of the Chiefs is this year.
Exactly. Chargers
Yeah,
11-6,
we can set
Chiefs
that up every year.
11-6, Broncos 8-9, Raiders 7-10, and that would probably be the most wins in football in a division. Probably would be.
They already had it last year, I think.
Yeah, so back to back then.
15-2, 11-6, 10-7, and then 4-13.
Joe, what do you think about? Yeah, really holding it up there in the bottom. What do you think about the Chiefs' record?
I have 10 wins.
10 wins.
10 wins for.
It's like
I'm not gonna count them. Like,
yeah, it's like we all want to. We all want to do it. We just are not going to be completely dumb like me in the past and just say they're going to go 9-8 or 8-9 out of nowhere for no reason.
but then they go 1-16, and they take Dylan Ryle or whatever his name is from Nebraska, and then they come right back and win it all.
Oh yeah, because he's definitely just gonna be the next Mahomes. Well, what about the Broncos, Joe? That's the last one.
I have them around the same spot, around 10 wins as well. It's a tough division, man. It's gonna be a good one.
Joe, you gotta pick a winner of the freaking division. We can't end the show with just no pick for the winner.
I did pick a winner of the division.
Who is it? Who do you pick to win the AFC West, Joe?
I don't remember. It's all foggy and blurry
There's
now.
4 teams. It's either the Raiders, the Broncos, the Chargers, or the Chiefs.
Well, if one team goes 17-0, don't you think they win the division?
Yeah, so the Chargers are going 17-0, winning the division?
No.
The Raiders fans aren't going to like that prediction.
I gotta go. Wrap this shit up.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning
Wrap
in.
it up.
Appreciate
Wrap
it.
that
Make sure
shit
you
up.
like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. What's going to happen in the AFC West? By the way, we're going to be dropping some more episodes. I'm going to have NFC East fans on here, NFC South fans on here. We're going to just be doing random talks about different divisions throughout the offseason. So make sure you subscribe to the channel for that. Like the video, like I said. We'll be back next week.
Bill Flames, I went Mike on the mic. With something brand new, one time for your mind. He gave you fair warning. Now it's time to smack him in the mouth with that raw sports talk from the town. Sweet chin music to your favorite sportscaster.